All
right.
1.2 functions and their properties.
Blue.
When the notes started, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. And then we
And
got
I was
to the
like,
weird stuff, and I was like, I don't remember that.
I remember absolutely nothing.
I was like, oh, I know the little circles with the X and blue and the
So mean and green.
Well, some of it is new, some of it's old.
And then we drew like 65 different graphs.
And I was like,
Bruno should be our class pet.
Yes, it's Bruno Tuesday.
All right, find the domain of the function algebraically, support graphically. We're just doing the algebraically part. Number 10, h of x equals 5 over x minus 3. So what values can the domain take on? Or like, how would you find what the domain can be? Domain is what values? X values. So what can x not be?
0.
-3. Wait, I don't know.
The denominator cannot be 0, so we take the denominator and set it equal to 0 and solve. So x equals 3. So the domain is negative infinity to 3 union 3 to infinity. About what? The only value that makes this undefined is 3, which is the only place that it doesn't exist.
So you have to set it like with the negative infinities and the positive infinities? Like,
Because it's all the numbers between that. Because negative 5 million makes that still work.
okay.
The only number that doesn't work is 3. So it's everything up to 3 and then everything after 3. Just not 3. So 3.0000001 is fine. But 3 is not. Alright, another one. 12. F of x equals 1 over x plus 5 over x minus 3. I was like, what? So if we were going to actually add these, we would need a common denominator, which we can do that first, but ultimately we're going to end up with x times x minus 3 on the bottom. So if I do that, then I can just set each piece equal to 0 and solve. So x equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. So x equals 3. So all real numbers work except for 0 and 3. So I'm negative infinity to 0, union 0 to 3, union 3 to infinity. So I have removed the numbers that I can't have.
So the numbers you can't have are 0 and 3?
Yes. But I've accounted for all other numbers in those intervals.
So you've accounted, so you did what everything
Everything
after is-
but these two numbers. Yeah.
So I'm just looking at the union. So the negative infinity is like everything
Everything before 0.
before 0.
Up to it, but not touching 0.
And then 0 and 3 is everything in between those two, and then the 3 and the infinity is everything after 0. I mean 3.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was just trying to figure out like the middle one, but I got it now.
I will say the middle one is the one that people leave out most
Yeah.
often.
Because I think they're like, oh, that's the ones we found that aren't.
But it's
Yeah,
like
so
technically
that's what-
point 0.00001 works. It's just 0 doesn't work, you know. So, All right, let's do another one, a little bit different. 16. F of x equals the square root of x to the fourth minus 16x squared. So what values can we not have in a radical? Can't have anything negative. Can we have 0?
No.
So square root of 0.
0.
0. So can I have 0?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I can't have negative numbers, but I can have 0, it's not going to be an equality this time. It's going to be an
Inequality.
inequality. So I'm going to set the inside greater than or equal to 0. And then we're just going to factor to break it down, and then we'll... So what would this factor into?
X
It would be
squared times x squared minus 16.
And then what can that break into?
We'll take the square of x minus 8 or
Oh,
I meant minus, that's what I meant.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
X minus 4 times x plus 4. Make sure you don't forget the x squared that's out front. So then we're going to set each piece greater than or equal to 0. So x squared is greater than or equal to 0. X minus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. X plus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. So I have that x is greater than or equal to 0. X is greater than or equal to 4. X is greater than or equal to negative 4.
Okay.
Then we gotta put in
It's gonna be a big long one.
So where does this exist?
So do negative infinity.
To 0.
Zero.
Negative.
To negative
Union.
-4, yeah.
And because it's or equal to, it's a bracket on the number this time, parentheses still around the negative infinity.
Is there always a parentheses around the infinity?
Because infinity, we don't know what infinity is. So
Yeah.
since we don't, it's not an exact number, it's got to be parentheses.
Pretty looking. Little squiggly in there.
Union.
And then
0, 0.
So when we have something like that, what we do is when it decides to work, we actually just do it in its own little set by itself.
Oh, it gets special
That is
treatment.
so.
Because if you go back and we'll finish it and then I'll show you why. Well, not why it's in the special brackets. It just is. But I'll show you why
Let's
we're
see.
writing it this way and why the numbers that aren't included are not included.
Because I guess my first thought would be to put it with like the infinity sign.
Well, we have another thing we have to do, so we can't go all the way to infinity.
Oh, because.
So what's the last one then?
bracket for
Infinity.
positive infinity.
So just for example, 2's not included, right? Okay. So if I put 2 back into here, 2 to the fourth is
8,
one more.
16.
16 minus 16 times 2 to the second.
4,
So 16 times 4 is
64.
64. So 16 minus 64. Oh, that's a problem. So that's why that isn't in there. And we could do the same thing on the
Oh.
negative side.
Because
Because
not, oh.
it's a little confusing because technically it's x is greater than or equal to negative 4. Making, x being greater than, it's got to be bigger than negative 4, which would mean it's actually in here. But if you plug in like negative 2, the same thing's going to happen.
Mhm.
You're going to end up with a negative number you can't have. So some of it is write what you think, check a number or two in there and see if it works. And if it doesn't, then if you plugged in like, -5 to the 4th and whatever, and you checked that, it's going to be a value that works. So we can include that. Okay. Now, I'm not going to give you any that are super crazy, but I just wanted you to see why that's the way that it is, because it can be a little bit misleading. I was honestly thinking y'all were going to tell me -4 to +4, or -4 to infinity for a little while, so I was really glad when you didn't, because that usually happens.
Because they assume when you say greater than -4, you assume it's going
Yeah.
positive.
But sometimes it's like a big negative number, sometimes what it means in this context.
Yeah.
So did I give you notes about range?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you did domain and range.
Yeah, you did the definition and then.
Yeah, I think. I mean, yeah,
I don't know if you did prop. I don't think you did prop.
Okay, I'm just gonna do one really quick to show you, because we don't really do a whole lot with range, to be completely honest. We're more concerned with domain. So 18 g of x equals 5 plus the square root of 4 minus x. So, range are what values? Y values. So, when we're looking at a graph just in general, okay, like maybe think back to like parabolas or absolute value functions, okay, when we had it and we were talking about how things were shifted, okay, what values shifted things up and down?
Wait.
Inside the parentheses or outside the parentheses? In terms of
Oh my gosh.
outside. Okay, outside goes up and down. Okay, so all we're really concerned about is this out here. Okay, outside goes the same direction as the sign that's with it, so this one's going to go up 5. Okay, so my range is just going to be bracket 5 to infinity. Okay, now, let's say you didn't know that, or the problem is given to you to be kind of weird, like number 20. G of x equals 3 plus x squared over 4 minus x squared. My guess is you probably don't know what that graph looks like off the top of your head.
No.
So that's where your handy dandy calculator comes in handy. Okay, you could graph this in y equals, and then you just need to find what the lowest possible value is. Now, it's possible that there's not necessarily a lowest value that you can see, meaning it could be negative infinity. This one's actually going to have a gap in it. So if you want to do that one really quick, we can, just so you see one on your calculator.
Okay.
So you just type it in how it is.
Do you have an extra calculator for Christian?
I just have this one.
It's still dead.
Yeah, I don't know where the charger is.
I have a charger, if you have your calculator.
My calculator is dead.
That's why I'm saying I have a charger. It's hanging. If you want to plug it in. All right, so y equals, help if you turn your calculator on first, guys.
Oh my god.
The number of times I've typed in like a whole bunch of numbers, you can just lay it on the floor or
If I
something.
had $1
And
To
then
the
I looked at
list.
screen and
And I was like, that's really unfortunate.
If I had $1 for every time I did that, I'd be rich.
I'd be
If there's anything there, clear it. Were we doing stat plots in this class the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have a stat plot on, you need to turn it off.
Oh, like all of them need to be on?
They all need to be off or it's not going to work.
Oh.
Oh, that's probably why I got it done.
Now, if you have this, okay, I'm going to show you how to put a fraction in your calculator, not that, well, you could put it in the way that it is, but if you hit alpha and then y equals, It brings up n divided by d, numerator over denominator, and it'll actually let you type in a fraction. Alpha y equals, and then it's the first one. So 3 plus x squared over 4 minus. Oops,
Mine
that's the
didn't
square.
change anything like that.
Yeah, mine didn't do that. I have to go out of the y equals to be able to
Wait.
do that.
Do you press alpha y?
Yeah, if I press it, alpha y equals.
doesn't-
While I'm
mine
in the y
doesn't-
equals, it doesn't do anything.
Mine doesn't do anything when I'm not, yeah, no, mine doesn't make a fraction. I think we established this last year, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, if it doesn't, then you just need to use a lot of parentheses.
Mine is just
Oh,
flat.
where do I put the parentheses? Do I just use it?
Because the last thing,
I
you
remember
just put the
having-
parentheses around the top part and then a division symbol and then the bottom part.
I remember, I think I had to do this last year.
My guess is, if you remember how the other day we had to hit zoom and then we had to do stat to get the stat plot, you now need zoom standard, which is zoom 6. So once you have that typed in, hit zoom and then the number 6 for standard.
Oh, I see now. Why didn't it? Okay.
Oh, wow.
What is
Okay, what'd you
that?
say?
That's
You said
interesting.
You have to
Hit zoom 6.
zoom 6.
It's really interesting.
Oh, that's. Mine has lines.
Do you think it'd be cool if it
So we're trying to look for the values that, the y values that are being covered by this graph, okay? So we can't see all the way out to infinity, but from what we can see on the calculator, okay, it comes over, looks to be about at -1.
Not it, buddy.
Look at that.
Did you put it in wrong?
Did you put in zoom 6?
Did you take off
I need to look at his light.
the stat?
That's what I'm doing.
If you hit trace, it'll just bring up a arrow thing here and it'll follow your graph around so you can kind of see like the lowest point of your graph and what it is. So the lowest point for the top part is at 3/4 or 0.75.
Oh, yeah.
So that part's going to be 0.75 to infinity. Okay. The bottom part then,
Mine flat.
I don't know if mine's going to let me go over to that. Oh, it did.
Why can't I go down?
Over here.
Flat line. Did it actually?
Oh, wait, how do I get it off this one?
No.
What?
It won't let it
Gotta
me move
go
it down.
all the way back.
Just arrow over as far as possible. It'll just jump to the next graph in a second.
Oh, it jumped.
So you can go as far out as you can. It's a little bit, well, it's pretty close to -1. So the way we would write the range for this is,
Do I keep going?
you can, but you don't need to. What you're going to end up finding, well, we'll get there in a second.
Okay.
So your range is going to be negative infinity to -1, not including -1, okay, because it doesn't actually touch -1, and I'll show you why in a second. Union, it was 3/4 is the lowest value that I saw on mine, so 0.75 to infinity.
His is very wrong, and I don't know why. It's so wrong. Yeah.
Probably something.
This is quick. Could I actually check my calculators in my locker?
Yes.
0.75.
I did turn on the scatter plot.
Yeah, you did. I checked, and I don't know why it looks like that. After Nathan comes back, can I use the restroom?
I don't care if you go now, to be honest
Oh.
with you.
You're right. I have messed it up a lot.
Wait, what? Did you mess up?
No, I just suck.
Nope.
Does your calculator
I just saw what
say
it
way
did.
back?
It was
Is your
stuck.
calculator on way back?
No. Because I put new batteries in it last year. so it'll be good for probably the next 15 years. Because my mom did not change the batteries and like she gave it to me. She said this thing could be almost 20 years old. She thinks she actually got it in high school.
Dang. I mean, we did, so
Yeah.
you can use that one for college too.
If I use this through college and it still works,
Give it to your kid.
I'm gonna. It's gonna be the generational calculator. I'm gonna pass it on to my children. You know, people have the family Bibles. I'm gonna have the family calculator with all the names on it.
No, and it's like by like 2040, everything's like on your not on calculator, but your kid still has a calculator.
Yeah, because I refuse to buy them the newest thing. I'm like, you're gonna use the generational calculator. It started with my mother. Let me tell that to my grandchildren.
I got it from my mother, and now I get it too.
This is how you pass Precalculus.
It was given to my mother by her grandmother. And her mother before her.
Oh, I found it.
They actually invented the calculator.
It's all the way at the bottom of my
Yeah, why did my old people voice sound like that? What'd you find?
calculator.
Why are you treating your calculator like that?
Well, I don't know how
but
it
it
got
seems
all the way to the
fancy.
bottom of the.
They are. This is like the
Oh,
best
it's in a
$100
bag.
my
It's in a
mom
bag,
ever.
guys.
It is
It's
in a
okay.
bag.
It's in a bag.
This is the best $100 my mom ever spent in high school, I guess. 'Cause it's getting me through.
Right.
I just have to tweak it a little bit and like put a ton of
Wait,
parentheses.
are those calculators like solar power charge? Like
No,
Battery.
batteries. Batteries. So they've lasted for like a long
I
time.
found my calculator, so.
I like batteries better than
I got them good Costco batteries in there, so.
Oh, that's gonna last a
Kirkland.
good
The
while.
Kirkland batteries.
The Kirkland.
Oh, turn them all off.
I would name my child Kirkland.
I would never name my child Kirkland, but that's just me.
I thought about
I don't know
naming
what's going on, but somebody's singing.
In the bathroom?
Gosh, I genuinely don't know what's wrong with your calculator.
No, in the hallway.
Can we
It's broken.
walk through the steps because I just found my calculator.
Yeah, do you have it in Y1?
All of my plots are off.
Okay, so then you need
I
to
think
type
they're
that
saying all over
into
Christmas is you.
this into your calculator.
It's coming from. the
If you
Bible
hit
verse.
alpha and then Y1, it'll bring up the ability to type in a fraction.
Probably nobody in there. Like the teacher.
Okay.
Oh. I thought it died, but it just turned off.
Like maybe do I have? I don't know.
242 days till graduation.
Thank goodness. I'm so ready.
I don't.
Okay, so now when
I'm
I do
terrified.
Zoom
I'm
6.
not
Yeah.
senior yet.
Well, you got
I'm not
the
good with
answer
change.
or something there. You
I'm
got
not good
like the
with
negative.
not
Okay.
money, not change.
Well, I typed it in as a fraction and then pasted it into Y1 to see if that would do it, and it did
It
not.
takes me a while to adjust.
Yeah, I even zoomed
Life
out and it
is-
still looks something like this.
Life is a confusing.
I don't even know.
It is, and also I don't want to do taxes.
I love
Oh,
tax.
I was like,
taxes.
Mom,
They're
teach me
awful.
how. And she was like, I don't even know how. I paid
Taxes,
H&R
taxes.
Block to help me do it. And I was like, well, dang it.
Well, you can make it
Because
consistent.
we'll bring ultimate tax
Huh?
efficiency.
Personal finance?
Yeah, the dog.
Personal finance.
I'm not taking a whole-
Taxes.
I'll just watch videos. And Connor
Okay,
had
just
me
watch
help
on
me.
YouTube.
Guys, childhood is
School
just a
said
free
teach us
trial.
how to
No.
do it, 'cause I think everyone should know.
Alright, next one's graph the function, what you're going to do on your calculator. Sorry, Josh. And tell whether or not it has a point of discontinuity at x equals 0. If there is a discontinuity, tell whether it's removable or non-removable.
That's a familiar word.
So 22, you need to put in your calculator h of x equals x cubed plus x over x.
I need to write it first, just so I know what I'm doing. Because if I put it in my calculator, I'll
We
forget
have
how
to
to do
clear
it.
the previous Y1.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what's that?
How the heck do I-
Oh. Oh,
So if you
please.
push alpha and then
Oh.
one. Okay, that's how you get that.
Oh, do you have to use the
And
little carrot thing to
then-
get cubed?
Alpha
Yes.
X.
Does everybody else call it a carrot, or is that just me?
Carrot thing.
It is.
It's just me?
No, it
Oh.
is that.
It is just you.
I thought
What's
you
the
were saying.
carrot thing?
Yeah, where's the carrot?
It's above division.
It's not that hard.
Oh, that's called a
Wait,
carrot?
how do I put it
I
in
call it a
function?
carrot.
I call it an arrow.
Use the little
I
carrot
didn't even know
thing.
that
No,
button
it's fine.
existed.
I know.
I can put it in Xbox too.
Do I have this
What do you
problem?
mean? X squared is right there, and then there's caret, and then you put 3.
What carrot?
This is the caret. Look at the caret.
Oh,
Dude.
Why do we call it a caret? It does not look like a
It's not,
carrot.
there's no carrot.
Above the
It's
division sign.
not CARROT. It's CARAT.
There's no C-A-R.
There's no CAR. It's not a CAR.
It's a symbol.
Bruh.
Bro.
That arrow.
Yes.
It's literally not a carrot. Why do you people call it a carrot?
Because it's spelled differently.
It's an
you're
arrow.
a carrot.
It's literally an arrow. I did it wrong.
Ooh, that one looks pretty. Wait, were we supposed to like?
Where's
we put
my
in the
carrot?
make the graph, right?
So,
What are we
one.
doing with it?
We're saying if there's a point of discontinuity at x equals 0.
Peyton, where's the
I need to
carrot?
remember what this cost.
Where's the carrot, Peyton?
It's above the division symbol. What was that sound, bro?
Basically, as long as it does not come apart, like there's not a gap
There's
at.
not a
Oh,
point
there's
of
no-
discon- It's
oh,
on the
okay.
first page of that.
Yes, I found it. Thank you.
Alpha.
Okay, yeah, there's no discontent.
Discontinued.
Yeah, no.
So it's continuous
Yes.
at x equals 0.
Zoom 6.
Wait, I'm trying to see if I can get it.
Okay, I think I messed up my calculator. Wait, that's it's off.
What's
so
off?
why?
Okay,
Dude, do
Zoom
you need
6.
help?
We all need
Is that what you got?
Yes.
Oh, see, I got the
What did
right
you get?
answer. I got the right answer this time.
Continuous.
I
Apparently
think
it
it's
did
something
not-
about the
Plug it in.
fraction that
It
it
did
doesn't
not
like.
like that last
Let me
one.
see.
It did not like that problem.
It just said no. No, thank you.
23. F of x equals the absolute value of x
Wait,
over x.
At x equals 0.
Oh, wait,
The
that
question
makes
was,
sense.
is it discontinuous or something?
Alright, I'm going to show you how to do absolute value bars because you probably don't know how to find
Is
those.
this even
Okay.
gonna
Just a
work on
guess.
my calculator?
We're going
It
to
was
find out in
absolute
just a
value of
second.
X over X.
Parentheses.
Was it?
Absolute value of x over x, yeah.
Yeah, where does that look?
Alright, so y
Wait, what was the
equals
problem?
the absolute value of x over x.
What was the number?
Soy.
X over
23.
Oh,
What was the number?
All right. Once you get a y equals, you're going to hit math. And then I got to remember if you have to arrow down.
Where's math? Oh, wait, never mind.
Is it
We're in it.
Where is
Solver.
Nope.
complex?
Wait.
I think. No.
Right here.
Numbers.
Under
Yeah.
number. So arrow one to the right, and then it's the first one, this ABS.
Oh.
Oh wait, I need
X.
to go to y
So,
equals.
do I have to do parentheses and then ABS? No, and then
You shouldn't
X?
need to with this one because it has
Okay,
the
I'll go
absolute
back
value
then.
bars.
Okay.
With the absolute value bars, it's like another grouping
Why
symbol,
are
so
you
it should be
like that?
fine.
Why do you do that to me?
Because mine says the word doesn't actually put absolute value.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I just.
Yeah, that's
figured it.
fine.
So then I do.
You'll have to close that
so we do
parentheses
another
then.
parentheses,
Yeah.
And then divided by, and then I need to do another parentheses for x. right?
You should be able to, since it's just a single thing on the bottom, you should be able to just do divided by x, but it doesn't ever hurt to put
It
parentheses.
doesn't hurt. Okay.
Why does it do that? It's very discontinuous.
What is that?
So what kind of discontinuity is this then?
Ew. That's not.
I don't know the bad kind.
Okay, it is.
Constant.
Not constant. It's not constant.
Jump?
Wait.
Jump, yes.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, the jump example looks very different from the jump we have
I
here.
just assumed.
Where's
The jump is if they're like it stops and it goes up and starts again, like in the same like line of each other. So this one would be whoops.
This would be discontinuity.
discontinuity
Yeah, discontinuity hole, right?
at x equals 0, and it is a jump discontinuity.
Oh yeah, it's a jump, bro. I think the hole confused me. Me drawing the circle was like, why is
Oh,
there?
this is 20.
Well, because that's the only thing that would make it a function. Because the vertical line test, if they both were filled in,
Oh. Okay.
which you can't see on this graph, but that's
Yeah,
why I do that
but
in the notes like that.
Okay.
Wait. How do you spell that?
Discontinuity?
Well, you spelled it 2 different ways. And not that it matters, but.
Oh, you did the.
Nudity.
There.
Oh, it's nudity.
Is it always discontinuity? discontinuity at x equals 0?
This particular problem is asking if there's a discontinuity at x equals 0.
Okay, it's asking
Look,
if
this
it
one
was
was continuous.
or well,
It just wants to know
checking.
specifically at x equals 0
Okay.
what's happening for these problems.
Yeah, okay.
That graph was disgusting. I don't like that at all.
Kill it. Burn it to the ground.
Alright, do 24 as well, just for more practice. G of x equals x over x minus 2.
Let's try to do it by ourselves.
Sounds great.
I think that's the thing.
Oh wait,
Sounds
sorry, Christian.
spectacular. I'm just gonna put parentheses
Here, after I-
everywhere.
I figured out. Okay.
Yeah, just
Alpha.
parentheses
After I do it, you can-
everywhere.
No, I really don't. Divided by
You don't.
alpha x minus 2.
Bruh. Whoa.
Hey yo, hey yo.
Hey,
yo. What you doing there, buddy?
Hey,
I don't know, but my calculator's like freaking out. I think I hit a
Could it
wrong
be more
button.
than one?
I think I got
Why does that look like there's like 4 different ones going on? Well, it's not continuous.
Is that like a infinite?
Dang, I got a straight line, y'all.
Well, my calculator is frozen, so.
How'd you get a
Jake,
straight
what did you
line?
get?
A straight line.
So
How'd you
did
get
I.
a straight line?
I did not get a straight line.
This is not a straight
I got
line.
like,
Let me try something.
I got like curves.
Wait a minute. Let me
Me
try.
too.
Let me try something.
Yeah, that's what I should have done.
No,
I think it's
shut up.
infinite. I think it's infinite.
It's
Which
yeah,
is
it's infinite
infinite.
discontinuity.
But I want to know at
it's
x
still not a
equals
straight
0,
line.
is there a discontinuity?
No.
Wait.
So then it's continuous at x equals 0.
What?
But there is
So
a
we got-
Oh,
discontinuity.
because these aren't x equals 0.
Right. There is a discontinuity, but not at x equals 0.
So if it said like
Where did you
at
get the
y
straight line
equals.
from?
Well, it would say at x equals something, or the problem would say something more like, is there a discontinuity or is it continuous? Or it'll say, is the problem continuous? And you'd say, no, there's a infinite discontinuity.
Oh, but since it just
But
says
specifically at that point, my calculator's not working, but
So
it is continuous
I
at
don't
x
know
equals
how they got
0.
a straight line.
But that's why I write the at x equals 0 part, because I don't want you to go back and think that the whole thing is continuous, because it's not. It does have an infinite discontinuity, just not at this
What is-
point.
I
I
don't.
did everything right.
Did you?
My calculator's frozen, so I can't really help you.
What'd you put in? Can I see your y equals?
This is not why you.
Like literally, my
Well, this is
calculator
not
has
why
just
you-
decided that it's just.
It's 'cause you didn't put
since yours
parentheses.
says that, you need to put
No, I did
parentheses.
put parentheses.
No, you
Now
didn't.
it worked.
No, the first
Oh,
time I
no.
changed it to see if it would change it, but it didn't.
What is it? X divided by.
Should look like that.
X divided by x minus 2.
Josh,
put
what
parentheses.
is this? It's there, but it connects his. There you go. Like it looks like that, but it's connected.
You have to put
That's like what
parentheses
happened with. There's gotta be. Hold on, can I see it for a
How'd you
second?
get it, Janessa?
Huh?
How'd you
I
get
put
it?
parentheses on X.
You have to
minus
put
two.
parentheses around everything.
I did put parentheses the first time and it didn't work.
So
I
wait,
put
is
parentheses.
It doesn't like
continuous
you.
at x equals 0 means that both x and y are 0?
Well, I was like, I don't know. I didn't know that.
I mean, I think so.
10, 11. It's 10. I mean.
Should I take it off? I'm not gonna.
All right, we're just gonna stop there for today, and then we'll pick it up tomorrow.